When you're in corporate land, you are rewarded for how smart you are. When you are in business, you are rewarded for how well you sell. Because if I hadn't run out of money, I would never have taken a good hard look at the guy in the mirror and said, you better do what you tell your clients to do now, buddy. I also actually think that I have a closer connection with my clients now because I get the struggle. And in fact, it's been well studied. The difference between confident and cocky is not what I feel about myself, but it's what I feel about you.
All right, Carlos, we're gonna get right into this. We're gonna hit hard right
Danny,
from the beginning.
Let's do it. So. Are you gonna hit me with some big ones? Let's go.
You're gonna hit me with your biggest one. What is the biggest deal that you've ever closed?
Biggest deal I ever closed. Well, for you know, I spent many years in investment banking, both advising clients, but also many years in a big pharmaceutical company in their internal investment banking business. So that's how I came to America, actually, because I was like kind of leading deals for them in Latin America. But before I came to, probably the biggest deal I ever got involved with was I don't know if I'm allowed to say which one, but a $17 billion acquisition. There we are. We closed a $17 billion acquisition. Do you know what's interesting, Danny? The more zeros, the simpler the deal. Now, I'm not going to say easy, but the simpler the deal. I see this now, by the way, with clients. They kind of they get all inside the head when the numbers get big. But the reality is, the bigger the number, the simpler the deal. And I'll even go as far as say normally the easier the deal.
Why do you say that? Is it because the players are more zoned in, decision makers? What is it?
Well, who do you think has a harder time, bud? Who do you think has a harder time? The guy selling the $400,000 Bugatti or the guy selling the $30,000 Camry? Who has a harder time in terms of negotiating, in terms of, the relationship with the buyer? It's just a different beast. You sell a $400,000 Bugatti, and by the way, I think I may have just disclosed to the world that I don't know how much a Bugatti is. So, but you sell a $400,000 whatever. That buyer's educated, that buyer's ready, that buyer's a sensible buyer. It's less emotionally charged. Actually, that's not true. It's less charged with negative emotion. It's just as emotionally charged. In fact, anybody that spends $400,000 on a car is a very emotionally charged moment, but it's got less negative emotion attached to it. And I see it in that's easy to understand in a B2B. But as Gary Vaynerchuk says, behind every B, there's a C. So a B2B is really a B2C. It's the same with B2B. Exactly the same with a B2B deal. That it is the bigger the deal, the more professional the process, the more and the less trouble you've got on the sell side of the deal. Way less, and on the buy side, in fact. You're just dealing with a different standard of customer. And you'll know this, bud. You know those customers that you've got who come to you I'm going to guess now. You've got customers who come to you for guidance and advice on video on LinkedIn, video in social. And I'm pretty sure you've still got a legacy of people who aren't paying enough. Those are the ones that are a pain in your ass. Then the guys who are paying your current rate, they're not a pain in your ass. The less customers pay, the more of a pain in the ass they are. Or maybe you'll disagree with me, bud.
No, I won't disagree with you.
Yeah. Yeah. Be careful, because some of those legacy customers are watching. Actually, maybe you want them to see it, right? That's okay.
No, some of them I love. A question here. So you closed this giant deal, but I could have sworn that I read something that 10 years ago you went broke or bankrupt or whatever and had to start all over again. Well, tell me a little bit about what happened.
Let me tell you that journey. So the two are pretty disconnected, because one happened in a previous role. Then I think what you're referring to is a post I put out about a week or so ago about just this little segment of the journey, which was I'm 54 today. Now, I know what your viewers are going to say. They're going to say, "There's no way that guy's 54." I'm 54. So I'm 54, and when I was 42, I left corporate for a variety of reasons, and I started my own business, and that is a humbling journey, because when you're in corporate land, you are rewarded for how smart you are. And when you are in business, you are rewarded for how well you sell. There you go. I said it. I said it. Maybe that's. I'm sure that now the floodgates are going to open of everyone who disagrees with me. But I'm sorry, that was just my
Let's
experience.
go. That's what we want.
And so I stopped being rewarded for being the smartest guy in the room, and started being rewarded for being the most the person who can operate a sales system, who had a thick skin, who was comfortable with rejection. I mean, I could speak for hours on the qualities required to go into the market and stimulate business, and I didn't have any of them. And I tell you what else is interesting. My business was training salespeople, so go figure. I was supposed to know what it looks like, and of course, I did know what good selling looks like. But there's knowing what it looks like, and there's actually doing it in the marketplace. And the best thing I think that ever happened to me, the reason I have now a very successful business, I truly believe the best thing that ever happened was that I ran out of money. Because if I hadn't run out of money, I would never have taken a good hard look at the guy in the mirror and said, "You better do what you tell your clients to do now, buddy." I also actually think that I have a closer connection with my clients now because I get the struggle. It isn't an intellectual struggle. It's an emotional struggle. I get that equation that decision that everybody in business has to make every day. Is today a day I feed my family, or is today a day I feed my ego? And it is so tempting to feed your ego. That ego is never satiated, right? Your ego is hungry forever. And spending time and energy feeding your ego that's going to be forever hungry, it just steals time and resources away from doing what I should be doing, which is feeding my family. So yes, did I run out of money? Absolutely. Was it a watershed moment? Absolutely. I didn't go all the way to be bankrupt, but I ran out of money. And, it's pretty humbling to be, and it was Christmas Eve, by the way, moving in with my in-laws, with 3 kids and 2 dogs. And, that's the moment when you make some pretty tough Now, unfortunately, the kids were little, so it was just an adventure for them. Hey, they're moving in with family. It was cool. But, it took me about, I don't know, maybe 6 months to a year. But no, actually, it took about 6 months. But I'll reframe that. It only took 6 months. It only took 6 months to completely climb out of that and start building the castle. Like, it was fast. It was a fast recovery. It was a slow decline and a fast recovery. And I think that's the magic of just making a decision to be to actually go in the market and do the selling that you're supposed to sell. Once you decide to sell, and that's why I'm a sales trainer guy. I mean, listen, I look at this through a biased lens. I get it. But once you decide to sell, it actually can happen pretty quickly. It's not Everest. You're not climbing Everest. It is a very digestible journey. It really is.
All right, I like it. So that time frame, this is when you decided to go in on the Sandler with Sandler, right?
No,
Is
I
that
decided to
lining
do
up?
Sandler. I decided to do Sandler before. I just wasn't doing
Okay.
it very well. I was doing it. That's why I ran out of money. I was doing it, but not very well.
Mm,
Then I ran
okay.
out of money, and that's when I started doing it well.
Okay. So what changed? What changed that
Oh,
you weren't doing it well, and then you were doing it well?
okay, so I started doing what I was teaching. See, I was teaching one thing, but doing something different. I was teaching, hey, this is how you run a sales call. This is the prospect. This is how you slice out your calendar to do prospecting. Here's the sales methodology. Here's the sales pros. I was teaching it. Great. Ah, absolute professor. But actually, if you'd just taken a look at what I was doing, I wasn't doing any of the stuff I was teaching, a complete fraud. And when I ran out of money, it was like, wait a minute, this is serious now. So actually, I better, and now I'm remembering, I'm reflecting. It was kind of last chance saloon. It was like it was the last choice. Because I was so desperate to be right that I forgot about being rich. I was so desperate to be that my way was a better way. And I don't mean the way I taught, but the way I was doing it was a better way because I'm so smart, right? Ooh, how smart are you, Carl? Very smart. I was so smart that I was smarter than the people I was teaching, right? I knew better. I was teaching them one thing, but I was smarter than them, really. Better than them, really. And, better than them. And wait a minute, evicted? Maybe not better than them. Maybe a little bit humbling. Maybe time for a little self-reflection. Maybe time to dump the arrogance and actually work on myself, be a student of my own methodology. And that's what I did. And it turned around very quickly. And like I say, now I have a much clearer lens on the journey that I expect my clients to go on. Much, much clearer lens on that. I can empathize with them so much better.
I like it. So what's the deal with Sandler, and why did you go in and choose Sandler as the methodology or the group that, or I don't know. I don't even know what to call them, franchise.
Yeah.
Why did you choose Sandler?
So I didn't choose Sandler in reality. My brother chose Sandler. So what happened was, I was living in Miami and Antonio used to come, my brother Antonio, used to visit me in Miami, and we for years we'd spoken about having our own business, starting our own business. We'd done that for years and years and years. But of course, we were both in good careers. We both had good jobs. We were both making plenty of money. So it was a nonsense. It wasn't real. And then one drunken evening in Miami, we said, you know what, let's do it. And we actually came to the conclusion that what we were going to do is we were going to buy a company. Okay, we were going to go and buy, because I'm a banker, investment banker guy. I can do all the numbers. He's the sales guy. He can do all the selling and all the. And our plan was find a business that was a little bit moribund, a little bit tired, and invigorate it. Buy it, invigorate it, and go through that value inflection easy. And we found a company to buy. It was a pool cue manufacturer. And I went and did some diligence on the company. I liked the look of it. He wrote the sales plan, but he was a client of Sandler. And his Sandler coach, a guy called Tom in Dallas, who's now a friend, but I didn't know him at the time. He showed Tom the sales plan for Tom's opinion. Hey, take a look. This is what we're doing. And Tom was like, you're really going to start your own business? If you're going to start your own business, you should become, you should join the group that I'm in. You'd be brilliant, says Tom. So he convinces Antonio, or he inspires Antonio. Antonio comes back to me and says, so Carlos, new plan. We're going to open a sales training business. I'm like, what the hell are you talking about, man? You might be doing that, but I ain't doing that. No, it's going to be great, says Antonio. What are you talking about? I'm a banker. I'm an accountant, for crying out loud. Stop it. Stop being ridiculous. Anyway, Antonio's committed. He really wants to do it. He wants to come out to Miami. He's got different circumstances than me because his kids had just left for university. They were way more mobile than me. And it was like, let's do it. Let's do it. I said, forget it. But he was in a tricky spot because he wanted to come out to Miami to do it. But to come to Miami at the time, still now, you have to get a visa, an investor visa. And to get an investor visa, you need a business plan because the embassy just doesn't give out investor visas. You've got to actually have a business plan that supports the business. And that was, of course, one of my many strengths. One of my many, many strengths is being able to write a business plan. So He said, well, will you write me my business plan? And I said, absolutely. Get me some names of other people that do this business, because I don't know anything about this business. I need to talk to them. I need to know how they go to market. I need to know how the financial model works. I need to understand it. I need to speak to some of their clients. If I'm going to write you a business plan, then it better be right. So I need to do diligence. And in the process of doing the diligence, speaking to clients, looking at the the economics of the business, understanding the business, in that process of writing Antonio's business plan, I kind of fell in love with it. I liked the model. I liked the impact it had on clients. I liked the energy of the company. I liked the culture. I liked a lot of it. And I remember clearly being sat in a class, a Sandler class this is before COVID pulled the world onto Zoom. This is back in, we were in real life. I was sat in Philadelphia in a class, and I thought to myself, shit, if I'd have known these things in my career 30 years ago, I'd have been a multi-millionaire by now. I realized quite how powerful, valuable that skill is, that skill of influence is. And I then again, then the next drunken night, we got drunk, and I said, let's do it. And he said, let's do it. I've actually got here, there's a nap. We were in a restaurant. We were in a bar, actually. We were actually in a pub in England, and he wrote on a napkin, he's going to do it. And he framed it, but it's over there on the wall. But he framed, he's going to do it. So that's how I ended up doing that. And me and Antonio's now retired. He retired a couple of years ago. He lives in France now. But for 10 years, we built this business in Miami, and I bought him out. Yeah.
Yo, I just wanted to take a very quick break in the action here because I just realized something crazy. 85% of the people that are watching our videos on YouTube are not subscribed. This is what happens when you actually get smart people to look into your analytics. So if you are enjoying this content and you want more practical advice and tips on how to grow your brand and your business with video, please hit the subscribe button. I do truly appreciate it. Secondly, if you are a founder and expert who really understands how important video is to grow your business, but you don't have time to mess around with cameras, write scripts, do video editing, or blow your entire budget on a fancy film crew, that's exactly what we help with at Video on Easy Mode. You are literally watching how it works in this episode right now. We make it easy to create high quality, natural video content to help you grow your business and grow your brand without leaving the comfort of your home or office. So if this sounds like something that your business can use right now, either scan the QR code or hit the link in the description. It's all remote. All you got to do is show up to a virtual studio, hang out with me for about an hour, and you're going to get a month's worth of videos. And let's get back into the interview. Let's get into some tactical stuff here.
Okay.
If there was one sales tactic or technique or strategy that you would say, if you could only teach somebody one technique, one sales strategy, one tactic, what is the most important one?
Explain.
So
no, I was just demonstrating it. It was that. It's called a reverse. Somebody asks you a question, you just reverse it and go one layer deeper. That was it. So in fun, I just demonstrated it with you. So you
okay. Because I was like, I thought I was pretty clear about it.
Yeah. But isn't it interesting? You know that reflex you had? Your reflex was not that I'm an idiot. Your reflex was I didn't explain that well enough. Did you sense it?
Yes.
You weren't thinking Carlos is an idiot. Pretty easy question. You thought, I didn't explain that well. That's on me. The pressure shifted from me to you in an instant. And all I needed to do was reverse. I needed and so many sellers have a problem with this because they think it makes them seem idiotic, but it doesn't. In the flow of a conversation with an obviously smart individual, when somebody bats that tennis ball back, the person who asked the original question feels deficient. And then we'll go to great lengths to explain that next level of detail, give context. To do that in selling is invaluable. So when somebody says, "Hey, can you guarantee the delivery?" Let's just imagine. Can you guarantee the delivery? irrespective of whether you can or you can't, the right answer is explain what you mean. That's the right answer. Because then they'll say, well, I need it guaranteed because if we don't get it guaranteed, the board's never going to improve it. And I'm going to get so much more information. Or I'm going to get, I suppose we don't really need a guarantee. Great, I got out of a guarantee. Or I'm going to get, well, the last guy, our current vendor, won't guarantee anything and keeps dropping the ball. I want to know that too. Whatever information I get when I reverse that question is gold to me in selling, right? Does that make sense, Danny? Is it clear?
Amazing. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I love that. Okay. What is the trait that all the best salespeople have that most people don't?
Can I give you a couple, or do you want the one? Have I got to pick one?
I mean, you don't have to pick one. You can.
I'll give you a few.
If there's a couple of important ones, I'm interested.
So my temptation is to say empathy, okay? Because that makes me feel good about myself. So if I say empathy, compassion, those kind of things. But the fact is, when I actually, and it wouldn't it be wonderful if that was the right answer?
That's the fluffy answer, is what you're saying.
It would be lovely if that was the right answer. And I think deep down it probably is still the right answer. Here's the challenge. The best salespeople I know are not that. The best salespeople I know are a combination of ambitious, driven challengers. They're very comfortable challenging, but not in a cocky way, in a confident way. And that's an interesting little divide, because it's easy to turn confidence into cockiness. And in fact, it's been well studied. The difference between confident and cocky is not what I feel about myself, but it's what I feel about you, who I'm talking to. So if I feel strong about myself and I feel positive about you, it'll manifest as cockiness. Sorry, as confidence.
As confidence. Yep.
But if I feel good about myself and I feel that, and I diminish you in my mind, that manifests as cockiness. And cockiness gets no dollars. Cockiness is not. Confidence is a magnet for dollars. Cockiness is repellent for dollars. But anyway, so they are confident, they are driven, they are challenging, and they are typically comfortable with decisions. Now, it's interesting because usually the person making the decision is the prospect and not the seller, even though that's not always the case. But I found that if a seller if the seller is a strong decision maker, then they kind of expect their buyer to be a decision maker. And they have less tolerance for indecision. And what is it? I think it was John. I think it was whatever that Dallas Cowboy football coach is called, Tom Landry.
Tom Landry
says, you get what you expect and you encourage what you tolerate. So a seller who expects a decision and doesn't tolerate indecision, well, that's what they get. They manifest the decision maker in front of them, and that in of itself is gold. I mean, it's gold to have a high expectation of yourself and of your prospect. Yeah, that's a long question, a long answer.
No, that's okay. That's okay. So let's talk about this whole idea that I see from entrepreneurs all the time, which is, I don't want to sell. I feel salesy. I feel slimy. I feel sleazy. They got the used car salesman thing, right?
Yeah.
How do people overcome that?
So I can tell you how I help people to overcome it. Whether it's a panacea or not, I don't know. Whether it's a magic wand, I don't know. But I'll tell you how I rationalize the action of selling, the process of selling. I'll tell you how I manifest, how I rationalize it, how I think about selling, and then how I help my clients think about it. Because if you're thinking selling is about closing someone, or about getting the business, or about hitting a quota, then it's going to feel uncomfortable. It's going to feel usury. But I don't believe that's what selling is. I believe selling is inspiring a great decision from somebody who wouldn't make that decision without my help, in the full knowledge that they don't think they need my help. So here's the example I always give. Sebastian, 17 years old, my son. I'll walk into his bedroom at night and he is playing Fortnite or talking to his girlfriend on the phone or whatever. Pick one of the 50 things he's doing in his bedroom that isn't his homework. And I'll say to Sebastian, hey, Seb, have you got homework tonight? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to do it later. Now, I know that's a bad decision. I know the idea that I'm going to do my homework later, the idea that I'm going to talk to my girlfriend and then do my homework, or I'm going to play Fortnite and then do my homework, there's just a whole better idea. Switch it. Switcheroo. Do your homework and then play Fortnite. Have a wonderful time. Talk to your girlfriend. Now, this is a great example of someone who doesn't think I know how to help. This is a great example of someone who doesn't think my motives are in the right place. They don't think I'm there to help them. They don't think I even understand or know their circumstances. That's what Sebi said. I can see by the look on his face. The look on his face is, this guy doesn't understand. He doesn't know what he's talking about. That's the look on his face. And by the way, that's the look on your prospect's face too. They don't know they can trust you. They don't know you know their world. They don't know that you've got their best interests at heart. They think they can't trust you. They think you don't understand their world, and they think that you've got your own best interests at heart. So there's no trust there. The motive's in the wrong place. And the art of selling is taking that circumstance where a bad decision was about to be made and helping somebody make a great decision. That is very different to close the business, because, there are sometimes you'll close a piece of business that didn't need any selling. That's order taking. It's order taking. If one of your customers comes to you and says, Danny, help me, man. Help me. I can't make my videos work on LinkedIn. I'm dying out here. Help me. And you go, okay, well, listen, Nick, whatever it costs, whatever. Lots of money to work with me. Let's do it. Just send me the contract. I'll take it. Of course, Danny, take the bloody money, but don't think you sold anything. You didn't. You took an order. You didn't influence that decision.
Doesn't mean I didn't earn it though. Doesn't mean I didn't earn it though.
I make no judgment about it at all.
No.
Take it. I love it. Of course, you earned it with your brand. You earned it with reach. You earned it when you prospected it. Of course you did, or you got the referral, whatever, you earned it, but you didn't sell it.
Right.
Selling is, and by the way, that entrepreneur that you told me about who feels sleazy, he's not talking about this circumstance. He's not talking about somebody who walks over and says, let me buy from you. He's talking about when he has to help somebody make a decision. That's when he's feeling sleazy. And the reason he's feeling sleazy, or she's feeling sleazy, is because she feels that she is trying to do it for the money. If she reframed it, or if he reframed it as helping somebody make a great decision who wouldn't make a great decision without your help. But then you've got to be honest about it and recognize that not everybody should be working with you. So to really, truly deliver against that promise of I help people make great decisions, then I have to be comfortable when the right thing to do is not work with me. And the only way I can really get comfortable with that is if I've done enough lead generation that my pipeline will protect me. Because if I've only got one deal in my pipeline and I've got no dollars in the bank and I've got a mortgage payment due, then no matter how wonderful an individual I am and coming from the most beautifully, gloriously warm place, when the bills need paying, the bills need paying. And that's when they feel a little slimy, because they are being a little slimy. But it ain't the selling. They didn't drop the ball on the selling. They dropped the ball on the lead gen. Most strength in sales comes from lead gen strength. We're humans. When we've got people demanding money from us, We absolutely need have a strong confidence in our pipeline and our ability to create pipeline, whether that's through our media or through prospecting or outbound calls or networking, whatever. Confidence that we can generate leads. Because in the absence of that confidence, we're always going to feel weak. I always say to clients, your pipeline is your shield. The strength of my conviction is directly proportional to the depth of my pipeline. My pipeline is my shield and my prospecting is my sword. If I'm going to go and do battle, I'm not going to do it at the sales end of the puzzle. I'm going to do it at the prospecting end of the puzzle. Because if I've prospected enough, if I've developed enough inbound or outbound leads, then I can be Iron Man. But if I haven't, well, then then I am at the whims of the market, and I look weak because I am weak. Fair?
Beautiful. Really good. All right. I'll ask you one more before we go.
Okay.
What is different about selling today in 2025 than when you closed that big $17 billion acquisition quite a bit of time ago?
I think philosophically nothing's really changed. It's still humans making decisions. Typically, who was it that said? There's a great quote, which I think it's Carl Jung, who said, "Don't make the mistake of thinking we are rational beings that sometimes feel. We're actually emotional beings that sometimes think." Humans haven't changed. We're full of emotion. We make every decision emotionally. There's a guy who was the CEO of Ford USA who said that a motor car is a million rational decisions pointed at one emotional one. We're emotional creatures. I don't think philosophically anything's changed. It's about managing my emotions as the seller and your emotions as the buyer. Always has been, always will be. Now, the practicalities have changed significantly. We have a lot more tech. We have a lot more, the pace of the world has increased significantly. I think fueled by that tech. It puts a hell of a lot more pressure on us. I think that we don't really need to be together as much. I think we can, but I think that one of the side effects is we over rely now on the tech. So, Zoom-based selling, remote selling now is way more the norm. It was evident years ago, but it wasn't the norm. It is now. Most of sales are done remotely. That's a whole different set of skills. Most teams are remote now. We've lost some of that human connection. So the practicalities are different. But one human inspiring another human, and one human being comfortable in their own skin, the seller being comfortable in their own skill and confidence and communication mastery, that's forever. AI's never going to take that away. That's forever, always has been, always will be.
Love it. Great advice. Carlos, I appreciate you joining me. Thank you so much. Maybe you'll come back, drop some more sales knowledge on us. I'm sure that you got plenty more where that came from. I'm sure we just scratched the surface here.
Yeah.
But I totally appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thank you, bud. Thank you.